What to expect in the upcoming July update.
Hello, survivors. As always, we would like to share the latest information about the next update with you. Certain brawls that you all know and love will make a comeback, and there's a new relic weapon coming to the game. But let's start at the beginning. We remind you that all the new features described in the developer blog are not final, and may be changed before they are introduced into the game or may not make it into the game at all. Return of the Big Black Scorpions brawl and other modes. The long-awaited brawl is finally back. In July, the survivors will once again take the Scorpions into a furious battle. In this mode, just a single hit means destruction, but the battle does not end with that. Destroy as many vehicles as you can and dodge projectiles from your enemies. This is the only way to win. The new version of the mode includes an improved preset vehicle. The following brawls will also return to the rotation: Impulsiveness, Wheels of Fortune, and At Gunpoint. Temporary PvE raid Taming the Dragon. Taming the Dragon is a raid for 4 players, with the familiar mechanic of defending against waves of enemies. And the enemies are very diverse, from fierce berserkers and rockers to cunning communicators, hunters, and others. The more waves you survive, the more valuable the reward will be. New relic weapon, the Devourer minigun. This minigun really eats the enemies for breakfast thanks to its very fast projectiles. In addition to the hail of bullets, the new weapon is double-barreled, which is crucial for its ability. The perk allows the minigun to release a burst of cooling, armor-piercing, and explosive projectiles. It really devours the enemy's durability. New Rundown event and updated crafting tab. The new Rundown event with a reward scale of various useful items starts in July. The next update will also change the crafting tab and make it more convenient and informative. In addition, the update will include a number of other improvements, as well as fixes for certain known bugs. And of course, we will release the already announced balance changes, which you can see here. That's all for today. We'll be in touch in future posts and news. Please don't nerf the Fortunes/Yongwang/Porks by messing up their projectile mechanics. They are one if the last weapons that actually get better when you gain skill with them, instead of brain-dead melee or just machine gunna that require no skill. Some people actually like having to practice and get used to how a weapon functions. You don't have to dumb everything down. The brain-deads already have melee, drones, tusk, rockets, MG hovers, fire dogs. They don't need to get every weapon. If the dev's balancing team keeps lowering the skill ceiling, only brain-dead players remain, and even they don't like fighting the same slop every battle. The game needs diversity, making more builds viable. That includes some which require a somewhat decent skill for them to be effective. If they go through with this, I'll probably quit for good. Skilled players are not just no longer wanted, but are actively being pushed away. Exactly. Scorps are a prime example of this, used to require a high level of skill to perform, high ceiling, low floor, but over the years has turned into a no-brain skill issue weapon that's too powerful, whilst also being incredibly easy to use and build with. It's crazy how many people don't seem to realize this with the Scorpion too. Was my favorite weapon for a long time. What they did with Scorps? I don't understand. For me, it is still needs shit-ton of skill. Way harder to use than Median or Assembler. If you played a Typhoon for a week, then a Scorp for a week, you would understand. Scorp requires absolutely nothing to play. Foons, you're happy if your guns even allow you to aim at the enemy. It used to be used to precisely hit explosives inside of a build. You had 7 blocks of penetration, and if you missed your target, then the damage would sink into either the cabin, wheels, weapons, and other modules. You could end up landing 1 damage with a Scorpion if you didn't aim at the right things precisely enough. Now, when trying to hit an explosive, the damage dissipates too fast to allow a hit on the actual explosive module itself. It has become a weapon which you simply point and shoot at center mass/cabin/weapons instead of a deep precision explosive weapon. How about this? Instead of adding new relics that only whales and top clans will ever be able to get, how about putting in the work to make everything currently uncraftable, craftable? There's way too much in this game that is locked behind previous seasons and cash purchases. Or how about fixing the terrible balance, broken bots, and cringe-worthy collision physics before you release a bunch of new stuff you'll have to fix? New stuff? Dude, they're all already in the game. But yes, the cannon bots aimlessly wandering around, certain items being blatantly overtuned, and the god-awful collision physics are indeed other things that need sorting. Devourer is already in the game? Ah, no. Thought you meant the items I'd like to be made craftable. That's my misunderstanding. I agree 100% about making items craftable sellable. They only add a relic every 10 months or so. For endgame players who still spend money on the game, this is interesting. The whole thing with the battle passes is that you gotta think ahead. It should be clear by now that most stuff in BPs will grow in value as supply dwindles. You missed the boat? Too bad. Usually after a while you get the opportunity to craft those things again in mini BPs, so be patient then and try that. Nah, sticking with my original comment, but thanks for playing. This man has logic plan ahead. It's simple. I've been playing this game for 2 years and was able to get my first relics in 6 months, only buying passes for 9.99. Play the market, anticipate their next move, or prepare, and you should not have an issue. The hardest part of making steady streams of coin to afford the big items you want is patience and dipping your toes into clan wars to make extra spending money to flip more items. Peas. New relic is sick. I will make enough to fuse them, Big Reaper meta. How do I do it? I've got enough money, ABT 90k garage value, to buy and flip items, but how do I know what to look for? I'm also very willing to spend $10 for the BP and mini BPs, but I'm still a bit lost. Am I supposed to craft or something with the free crafting recipes they give? Ah yes, a new relic. Already leaked many weeks ago, it was kind of expected to appear. But if the relic machine gun is here, that means the T-Rex legs might exist. Time to buy all the Athenas in market. The question is if it is Athenas, because the minigun shoots cryogenic, armor-piercing, and explosive rounds. Pick legendary with a high price that hasn't been used in anything yet. Yuboko. A new relic is the most absurd thing they could add. You can make resources better. Have player-made brawls give resources. Make BP items craftable. With the amount of low-level people in these events, give them a weapon, cab, modules instead of stickers and boxes. Make intelligence useful again. Blueprint storage. Make CW more accessible with PS caps and low-level uranium. Y'all just do anything but enhance quality of life. In my opinion, more accessible CW with PS caps is a bad idea, because all that happens is the same players who dominate normal CW just go down to Seal Club, which we saw happen in the 13K event. If you can earn ore versus easier, less experienced opponents, the cunning good players will always take that. Power score caps just require people to sacrifice the build for the weapon or vice versa. On Xbox High Level, Clans Wars, you'll see plenty 20k plus builds, and everyone knows when you're in Rust, you'll still face them LOL. Knowing you'll see max 13k or 8k at least puts it in reach. New players shouldn't have high expectations in CW, but you can free to play up to 13k pretty soon. A percentage of people spent their granny's pension on the game, they'd still have great builds at any PS. Just not a team of 5 fused porks, Odin, Hadron with every module and 62 big rams. Or 20k power score firebugs. When can we expect the dev answers to the questions we asked some time ago? Never. They only answer what's convenient for them. What the hell is a rundown? Hi Faley, this is an idea for the devs and management for player retention, especially for new players and the solo players like myself. Crossout needs a solo PvP queue mode. Still 6v6 but no groups. Most players don't want to go up against clans or groups, and it's no fun to get destroyed in seconds, especially for new players learning the game and solo players like myself. It will create balanced matches even with veteran players like myself. It will keep players around longer, and those that wish to go ahead and join a group can do so. Most PvP games have this option. Thanks, and keep up the great work. Where is Rat King and the Battle Royale? Tell me, or I will seriously start looking for the Targum headquarters. Another part that 90% of the community will never get to experience, lovely. So still no Flamers nerf. Are you guys mentally challenged or something there? What other weapons do 9,999 DMG in less than 10 seconds? With this ease of use, there is absolutely nothing in the game that can tank 1k damage per second. Why Athena's for recipe on cooling weapon? When have the recipes made sense, I guess, right? I was thinking Reaper Narwhal would make sense. Where did you get the recipe for it with Athena's? That's what I've heard from others on the previous leak. I have no fact to base it on, only hearsay. Yay! Another piece of content I'll never be able to use. If you won't make items craftable, then at least let us get work pieces or use badges or something to unlock missed crafting recipes from past battle passes like Syndicate and Founders. Another thing is that make-player-created brawls give resources. Relic Minigun is a nice addition to the game, but I am unsure how it will perform. Hope it won't be broken. Glad to see old brawls return. I have missed them. Wave-based gameplay. I love them, and they should be a permanent mode instead of an event. If permanent, then make them rotate resources each week like Week 1, plastic. Week 2, copper, and so on. Just an idea. Fix bots' AI as it is broken and not behaving well. Bots just keep driving around like headless chickens around the map and won't shoot unless some of those picks up some brain cells somewhere to do something. P. Make spiders better against pushing. Like give them more grip and pushing power. Especially Beagrams, and maybe add slight amount to Gyarados too. Track should have more grip and not get pushed around by an ant. Fortune changes are awful. Not nerfing Draco is great idiotism. They kind of are indirectly nerfing Dracos by nerfing the setup, Bigfoots plus Buggy Wheels plus Yokozuna, that made them good. Without that specific setup, I don't think Dracos are all that good. Inhales, don't even know if a Ravager can. Bring me the Battle Royal mode. Seriously, we need to have access to the Rat King portrait. Well, I once again failed to save up ore for when a new relic is added, as I used what I had to craft Helicons instead. Oh well, I'll try again next year. As this relic, not interested in it anyway. Unless, perhaps, fires a burst of projectiles is how the entire weapon works. We have enough mindless weapons where one just holds the attack button down. If this fires a quick burst, then has to cool down before firing again, this would make it more interesting instead of just being a better Reaper, and it'll be better balanced. Now everyone will be driving around me with relic miniguns and killing me. Better than hammerfall bricks and fire dogs. I'm hoping the recipe is craftable parts and not these 40,000 coin uncraftable parts. These uncraftable part recipes suck. If you absolutely have to do the wheel nerfs, at least also reduce the power consumption of Bigfoots and make sure you don't forget to buff the non-steer Bigfoot tonnage, as well as the steering Bigfoot tonnage. I just replaced the small wheels on my Leviathan with Bigfoots to test your trash balance proposal, and it moves like an actual boat, even after taking off like 2,000, 3,000 weight. I expect a giant pile of shit to cover up your already giant pile of shit. Sue Full Auto Helicon? Thanks for the pay-to-win. Literally truted the developers on the rumors of incoming relic. Prepared 90 uranium bought at low price. And now it's time to redecorate my balance. 5 months of waiting worth it. D. 90 uranium won't be enough though. What's it take to craft? I heard somewhere that it will require a Thyrsus, but I'm not sure. Yeah, who knows, LOL, probably something from one of the last 2 big BPs like a Yeti or Starfall and one older thing. I don't know about a Thyrsus because everyone has them ATM, they want to make money. They'll probably release a mini with a craftable after the gun comes out. I've been out of the loop a while. Is crossplay going to be happening between console and PC, or is the current console only crossplay officially all that will be supported? No news on crossplay between PC and consoles, but there is crossplay already implemented. PS and Xbox already queue in the same lobby, but market and everything else is still separate. But in the last stream they said something about the future of crossplay, and it's to advance further. Nothing concrete announced yet. Here's a balance tweak to partially fix all the unbalanced stuff we released without testing. And here's a bunch of new unbalanced stuff we released without testing. Lather, rinse, repeat. New relic. Sounds intrepid. Just 2 months until the price gets normal. 130k coins waiting for it. Let's see if they are worth it. Of course, it'll be too strong. It's a spam relic. Just hold one button on target with camera steering and aim assist, the game does the rest. I tested myself a long time the aim assist, and I was much worse then without it. It's completely off now and feels much better. Some guns require more or less forecasting and others not at all. The aimbot makes it a pain in the ass to hit with cannons across the map in one match and hit with punishers in the next one. Yeah, see, if no games had aim assist and instead allowed for dead zone tweaking, then nobody would ever need aim assist again. Everyone would just learn to play without it. It's not hard. Games like R6 taught me that. Fuck you for deciding to nerf wheels. I opened the game earlier, checked the market price of my two Omamoris, saw they weren't 20k plus yet, and closed the game. Fire whoever does game balance and hire someone that actually plays. Gameplay is dog shit. It's getting nerfed. Why would the price go up? The recipe's much cheaper too, because it's trending up. Why anyone wants to buy it, IDK? But they do. Balance changes planned for the upcoming update. Hello? The second half of July will bring a new update that will have a number of certain necessary balance changes. Today we would like to share some details on those changes with you. We would like to remind you that all the balance changes described in this news are not final and may be changed before they are introduced into the game, or may not be implemented into the game at all. Some additional changes could be made after the publishing of this announcement if needed. Rotation speed is planned to be increased for a number of weapons, MG13 Equalizer and MG14 Arbiter by 44%, Miller, Reaper, Spike 1, and Toadfish by 58%, AC-43 Rapier, AC-50 Storm, AC-72 Whirlwind, AC-80 Stillwind, and Yokai by 42%, AC-62 Therm and AC-64 Jewel by 17%, Tempest, Whirl, and Astreus by 60%, Cyclone by 36%, Little Boy 6 pounds, ZS-33 Hulk and ZS-34 Fat Man by 71%, Elephant by 50%, ZS-46 Mammoth, ZS-52 Mastodon, Phoenix, Synthesis, Prometheus 5, and Helios by 100%, Median and Varun by 40%, Waltz and RL-9 Helicon by 47%, Narwhal by 114%, Jotun and Aurora by 25%, Quasar and Pulsar by 75%, Trigger by 18%, Destructor by 12%, Blockchain by 8%, Assembler by 22%. Comment: low rotation speed is an outdated weapon balancing mechanic that affects only the vehicles with wheels or tracks. Therefore, many of the weapons that use this mechanic are only used in combination with the oppressor. The increase to the rotation speed of most of the weapons will allow players to utilize them efficiently in combination with other engines and movement parts that don't strafe. And using the oppressor will now make the rotation of the weapons as comfortable as possible. We understand that those changes may make the oppressor less popular. We will rework its perk if it becomes too unpopular. Buggy Wheel, Bigfoot, and Sabbath. The perks of these wheels will now have reduced efficiency in combination with other movement parts. Comment: the perks of these wheels are quite efficient as is, but combining them with other movement parts strengthens vehicles quite significantly. The change doesn't affect builds made with only one type of wheel, but it weakens vehicles with a lot of different movement parts, and the playstyle aimed at using all possible perks. For example, if half of the movement parts on a vehicle are buggy wheels, their perk currently works at 50% of its maximum, meaning it reduces speed requirements by 20%. After the change, the perk in this situation will work at 35% of its maximum, that is, reduce speed requirements by 14%. Bigfoot, Sleipnir, Tank Track, and Meat Grinder changed the group of those wheels in the tonnage calculation mechanic. Now, installing those parts will cause other lower movement parts to increase the tonnage and use their perks only if they make contact with the ground. Comment: when this mechanic was first introduced, We did not separate these movement parts into a group separate from most low movement parts to avoid inconvenience to tilted vehicles. And designs with wheels suspended in the air were not popular at the time. Now, with the increasing popularity of Bigfoot, there are cars with lower wheels that act as a source of tonnage and perks without touching the ground, which is unfair to builds with mechanical legs and hovers that don't have the ability to do so. Yongwang, Fortune, and Porcupine. The projectile trajectory no longer depends on the movement speed of the vehicle. Comment: the change makes shooting at longer distances while moving easier.
Cabin's maximum speed upgrade. Bonus change from +3 km/h to +3%. Comment: the change is similar to the recent change of the Phobos passive skill. The upgrade will not lose its relevance in comparison to other upgrades in the power category, but will give a slightly lower bonus to slow cabins. ZS-33 Hulk. The perk now speeds up reloading by 10% instead of 0.3 seconds. ZS-34 Fat Man. The perk now speeds up reloading by 15% instead of 0.5 seconds. Comment: the changes are due to the fact that the time bonus could make these weapons reload too fast in some combinations with other reload time bonuses, percentage bonuses. The changed perks will be slightly more efficient, or at the same level, at reducing reload time on most vehicles, but will lose effectiveness in combinations with other bonuses that are too great. Spike 1. Added perk. Increases the impulse of other installed Spike 1 parts by 35%. Comment: the unique feature of the Spike 1, the high impulse, is almost unnoticeable in its current form. Adding the perk will make the impulse noticeable on medium PS vehicles with 3 spikes, but will not increase it at low PS levels, where the mass of enemy vehicles is much lower. Yongwang: previously, the perk increased damage for each energy point spent on modules by 6%. Now the bonus also depends on the rarity of modules. Legendary, 6%, Epic, 5%, Special, 4%, Rare, 3%, Common, 2%. Comment: the efficiency of the weapon was too high at a wide range of PS, 7,000, 16,000. The change aims to weaken the weapon at low PS and in clan confrontation, but keep it relevant in battles at high PS. Quantum bonus to the energy weapon's damage is now 25% instead of 20%. Comment: compared to other epic cabins, Quantum has a rather weak and narrowly focused perk that needs strengthening. Caucasus dependence of spread on flight speed increased by 2 times. Comment: high efficiency when used on armored aircraft. The change only affects the spread in flight, with the rotor on, and does not affect ground gameplay in any way. Bigfoot ST tonnage increased from 1,250 kilos to 1,500 kilos. Comment: the change is due to changing the group of Bigfoot in the tonnage calculation mechanic. The change is necessary because the Bigfoot's tonnage is often insufficient for heavy vehicles, and lower wheels will no longer increase it. Gravistar radiators now work with the Gravistar like with the other shotguns, meaning they give it a reduced bonus to time before overheat. Comment: high efficiency at 8,000, 11,000 PS and in clan confrontation. ST M26 Tackler energy consumption reduced from 6 to 5 PTs. PS reduced from 810 to 1675. Damage reduced by 19%. Comment: low popularity of this machine gun. The changes will create more options for building a vehicle with the Tackler, from installing more Tacklers to installing additional modules. The reduce in damage is due to the fact that reduced power consumption alone would make it overpowered. Snowfall energy consumption reduced from 10 to 9 PTs. PS reduced from 1350 to 1215. Comment: the logic is similar to the Tackler changes. Snowfall energy consumption reduced from 10 to 9 PTs. PS reduced from 1350 to 1215. Comment: the logic is similar to the Tackler changes. Nagwal: the increase in spread after a shot reduced from 2 degrees to 1. Comment: weapon lacks efficiency. The change allows to quickly fire the entire clip with higher accuracy. Omnibox perk now increases speed by 15% instead of 10% in the first mode, and power by 25% instead of 20%. In the second mode, it speeds up cooldown and reloading by 20% instead of 15%. Comment: Cabin lacks efficiency. The change improves each of the modes, increasing their impact on gameplay. Step Spider. The perk no longer reduces rocket damage. Comment: The change is due to the low efficiency of the cabin. Aerothron projectile damage increased by 10%. Projectile impulse increased by 20%. Pellet damage increased by 10%. Pellet spread reduced by 10%. Comment: Lack of efficiency given the complex mechanics of using the weapon. Fin whale speed bonus reduced from 25% to 23%. Comment: We expect that after the weapon rotation speed changes, a significant number of vehicles that use wheels will replace the oppressor with the fin whale, which will make the average speed of armored vehicles in the game higher. To reduce this effect, we are bringing the speed bonus of the fin whale closer to that of the oppressor. Omamori. The module now absorbs 300 damage instead of 400. Durability reduced from 303 to 252 PTs. Comment: Even with the increased energy consumption, the module remains too strong and, therefore, highly popular. Yeti recharge time increased from 16 sekir to 25 sek, like that of chameleons. Manually disabling the module now reduces recharge time by 68%, i.e., to 8 sekirs as before. The manual disabling delay is now 2 sekir instead of 1 sek. Comment: The change will reduce the frequency of vehicles entering the invisibility state and increase the value of disabling it. If used carefully, manual disabling of the module will keep the recharge duration the same. Mandrake energy consumption reduced from 14 to 13 PTs. PS reduced from 2800 to 2600. Comment: The logic is similar to the Tackler and Snowfall changes. Narwhal energy consumption increased from 12 to 13 PTs. PS increased from 2400 to 2600. Comment: An extremely efficient weapon in various modes. The change aims to weaken vehicles that use Narwhal by reducing their number of installed modules and increasing their PS. Pulsar damage upon hit reduced by 9%. Damage bonus for hitting modules reduced from 30% to 20%. Comment: After adding damage upon hit, the efficiency of Pulsar increased significantly, and the perk began to be utilized more often. Yokozuna. The perk now increases the cabin's power by 200% instead of 30% and speed by 10% instead of 20%. The bonus to allies' power is now 50%, and speed bonus for allies is now 10%. For any cabins, not just heavy cabins, as before. Hammerfall energy consumption increased from 10 to 11 PTs. PS increased from 2000 to 2200. Comment: The logic is similar to the Narwhal changes. Nidhogg damage reduced by 15%. Comment: The shotgun stands out as having one of the highest damage to energy consumption ratios and has too high efficiency at a wide range of PS levels, from 6,000, 2 Nidhoggs, plus Growl Cabin, to 18,000, 2 Nidhoggs, plus 1 Jormungandr. Spark 3. Spark now reduces the armored vehicle's power and speed by 5% instead of 4% when dealing damage, but the effect stacks up to 12 times instead of 15. Comment: This is partially a reversal of the recent changes that were supposed to make the Spark a more independent weapon. Unfortunately, it did not work as intended. Moreover, it became noticeably weaker as an auxiliary weapon. BC-17 Tsunami and CC-18 Typhoon recoil reduced by 23%. Comment: High efficiency in combination with the Whaler, the perk of which charges too quickly when using these guns. The change will also slightly increase the comfort of playing vehicles with other cabins. Breaker energy consumption increased from 10 to 11 PTs. PS increased from 3,000 to 3,300. Comment: The logic is similar to the Narwhal and Hammerfall changes. Jormungandr damage increased by 33%. Heating from a pellet reduced from 12.5% to 5%. Comment: The shotgun was weak as a standalone weapon and was exclusively used in combination with 2 Nidhogg's. The problem was due to the fact that a shot from a single Jormungandr heated enemy parts by 100%, and its own damage was lower than that of the Nidhogg. The changes should help Jormungandr become a weapon in its own right. Where's the Starfall? I did not see it, and who knows what else they missed. They should make the Hammerfall weaker instead of giving the shotguns 1 more energy point. I'm sure that's why many people stop playing. I will be one of them. You are making the game harder and harder for newer players to compete with people that have been playing for years. You are killing this game. As someone that started playing this year, this is the second time everything I have worked towards goes in the trash. The idea to increase energy drain and power score is a terrible way to balance, but nothing is done about the fat spiders with punishers. If they really do that with the shotguns, my top 5 clan and I will stop playing. It's unbelievable how a game can be ruined like that. Buff Fat Man's damage. Could the M26 Tackler get a fire rate buff of like 5% to compensate for the damage nerf? It's one of the few machine guns that does not get a fire rate upgrade when fusing. Wheel acceleration is too unreal. Much fast Aegis durability and active time is too low. Not available for craft other than the fast barrier is broken easily. No one play camping game Omamori, and the legendary engine are just too strong. It can be used on any PS, and I've seen hundreds of players who don't have the engine get crushed. Whether the tires are spinning is a completely different perspective. I wish developers would understand why they're being mocked for not playing the game for years. Awful changes. Love that Mandrake change on the energy consumption. Could have done with better rotation too, but I'll take what I can get, and what we got is pretty damn nice. Good stuff on the Mandrake Targum. I leave the same comment here that I left on JB's video. Yet again, the devs choosing to completely nerf stuff into the ground instead of just raising the PS to solve high efficiency at low PS issues. They remind me of the episode of South Park where they cut off the chicken's head and just choose what it lands on as a nerf instead of a simple solution. Ah yes, let's nerf everything in the game than what needs to be nerfed, as if clans aren't dominating with firebugs and Dracos right now. As someone that started playing this year, this is the second time my builds I have worked towards have been turned upside down. I have a friend that spent months grinding and literally just bought his second Hammerfall, which now he cannot use. Every time these changes happen, new players lose coins. What is being done about new players? Considering half the matches are decided by bots, maybe that is the most important thing to focus on. Do not do the Bigfoot chart large wheel change for calculating tonnage, for the love of God. It will make almost all of my builds useless. I use Bigfoots in combination with claw wheels. Claw wheels for their tonnage, and perk with Bigfoots touching the ground, because frontal wheels movement is terrible. Do not do that change, I beg of you. I don't like nerfing or buffing via energy changes. You could have just lowered the range of shotties and made the hammers have a hitbox that couldn't be hidden behind that cab, or made the spider legs not be sluggish as shit to turn. I know the Bigram thing, but I don't want to run big rams cause the other legs I think look cooler. So dumb. Heavy cabs were perfect how they were. You could actually catch a hover sometimes with enough skill, but now they are able to outrun the big boys who can take some of the damage every time. With this update, the hover meta is about to get real again. Then they make the machine gun towers even more meta. The shotgun's bricks not only get slower, but now they have less health. The wet paper napkins called Hammerfalls. The half-dry paper towel of a Omamori is now going to the dump. You already gave some small cabs the extra point over medium and heavies. You already made it so even the slow hovers can outrun heavy dogs. How much more pain do you plan to put us through, Targum? Next, they are going to say rotors are allowed in confrontations, but only on the low. Quasar, Arbiter, Equalizer, Cyclone, Starfall, Narwhal, and even more. Hovers. What really needs to happen is you need to fix the skill level matchmaking. Fix that, or maybe make build-type matchmaking. No, I'm not saying pit players against their build's worst enemy every single time, but make it so there has to be some kind of mix-up of weaponry, so there are no full lobbies of shotgun, shutdown, fire dog, hover, metastacks of deaths. All these tears that everyone sheds wouldn't be filling your ears if you just fix the way matchmaking works. Rant over. It's not that much for the Rorqual. It'd need a nerf on the perk. All weapon are invincible with it. The weapon rotation buff is long overdue, literally by years. Finally, something good. Too bad I won't be able to switch from the Oppressor to the Fin Whale on my heavy Mastodont build given the buggy wheel nerf, as it would be impossible to run them on only buggy wheels. Regarding those changes to combining wheel perks, could the nerf be only applied to the non-dominant wheels? For example, if I have 8 buggy wheels, but add 4 other wheels to the vehicle, the buggy wheels would stay as they are now, but the second type of wheels would get that nerf applied. Can you please not ruin the cabin extra speed upgrade? After many players spent thousands of coins to get that bonus. Or better yet, also revert the global cabin speed nerf you did 2 years ago? The whole player base shouldn't be punished for the existence of melee builds and other face-hugging builds like shotgun bricks on heavy cabins. Bigfoot tonnage buff is nice, but the devs should look into the interaction between Bigfoot wheels and porcupine barrels. There's no reason a single, or any amount of that is, porcupine barrel should flip a 25-ton build on wheels. Even friendly barrels can still do that for some reason. A nerf to cuck cases helicopters? Yes, please. A general one wouldn't hurt either, to be honest. I don't understand the speed nerf on the Fin Whale, and especially the reasoning for it. What's so bad about vehicles in Crossout becoming faster? If anything, it was very bad when they became slower with the global speed nerf. And with the cabin upgrade nerf will make it even worse. The Snowfall energy change looks very promising. I'd like to give it a try again. Too bad I'll have a hard time finding a blueprint slot for a build. Any nerf to Omamori is a good change, but I still think the Omamori should override all other damage resistances that would otherwise add to the effect of the Omamori, like the perk from Fin Whale, as a prime example. The Yokozuna speed and power changes are all backwards. There isn't anything wrong with Yokozuna's peck to allow players to catch up to someone, or to escape away from someone too. The problem is that when a Yokozuna rams into an enemy and activates the perk, it can completely disable the enemy from moving and can push other heavy builds around without issue. That's why the Yokozuna is used on so many Draco and shotgun builds that have a single purpose of ramming into enemies, which is extremely toxic and is chasing players away even as I type this. Making the perk give the cabin a burst of 200% to the power? That is most insane and will only further reinforce toxic behavior while letting Draco builds push anyone around like a rag doll. Speaking of toxicity, Spark and Flash getting faster, ramp up on the debuff is not a good idea at all. Slowdown debuffs are the worst things ever put into Crossout. And finally, Hammerfalls and Breakers will be hit with a nerf now, but I am absolutely astonished that there are no nerfs to flamethrowers, and to an extent, porcupines. These need to be hit with a massive nerf already. The amount of picks in CW alone should speak volumes. Today's CW were like 90% flamethrowers, porcupine hovers, and shotgun bricks for us. It is absolutely unbearable, and playing off-meta builds isn't viable anymore. There is no wonder that 2 weeks ago, the week of 10.6, 16.6, Crossout has achieved an all-time low in the number of clans participating in CW since the introduction of Uranium Leagues, 710. The number was 349, less than half of the number of clans at the start of Uranium Leagues. There were, for comparison, around 550 clans playing CW before Uranium Leagues were introduced, and the peak was on 19.4 to 2020 with almost 1,100 clans. This is not sustainable at all. Counting clans that had above 1 point, so there may have been some clans that had 0 wins, but one can expect their percentage to remain constant. Pulsar's still bad, and they nerf it more. Recoil is a great attribute that allows for some skillful dodging on a hover typhoon. Guess that is gone now. Whaler Cab will also collect dust, as people just go back to Hadron. Narwhals were starting to make an appearance in Clan Wars. Bomb nerfed into the unusable pile. Glad I made 2 fuse Nidhogs in that last event to go with my Jorm. Devs love giving fuse event and then immediately nerfing said items right after. Any good weapon from a battle pass always gets nerfed after the battle pass. Clearly just a cash grab. The devs have no idea how to balance this game or how to even keep it going. Adding tons of legendary cabs modules that are uncraftable, great way to keep new players from becoming competitive in this game unless they unload their wallet. Game is getting worse and worse. Very true words. Devs killing the game. Constant new items. How to balance old things if they add something broken every few months. And balance. They are doing is just a joke. There was many weeps that got nerfed, buffed again. It's clearly stupid. They should just stop adding new stuff and fix old stuff properly. But they rather cash grab and nerf it latter. Please don't make Yokozuna's speed bonus weaker. So you nerf Narwhal so it can't be played in combo with King, Hadron, and new reload module. My guess not many PPL bought upgraded Lucifer? After you finished your money grab, then you're gonna nerf Lucy also. No? Leave Narwhal's energy as it is. It's not fair cause other cannons use 12, so they can use it and I can't. Please don't change momentum-based projectiles. I like my fortunes the way they are. They're in an incredibly balanced state right now. I'll have 90% rotation on my Tempest if this stays the same. Beluga is getting fucked over threefold now with the Narwhals though. Hopefully I can get the same fuse when the weapon upgrade event comes out. Not happy about Pulsar nerf. Only reason it's strong is the Catalina Cab. Not happy about Narwhal energy nerf. I thought the point of energy changes was to use more modules. Happy about shotgun energy nerf. No more shotgun bricks. Fin whale nerf is dumb. The change to Narwhals will make it so I can't have 2 on a Leviathan without it double due to the over 24 energy per weapon type. Can you please adjust that to be 26 or 28 energy for Leviathans? This would also help Lucifer rocket launchers too. Also, please list every Leviathan weapon category in the tooltip of weapons. Machine guns have 3 types, yet autocannons only have 1 type. Heathers are artillery yet count in the same group as all rocket launchers. All cryo weapons are 1 type, so you can't use any synergies like using Jotun with Narwhal too. Guess never gonna buy BP again. 'Cause every time I get something nice, few months later I have put it into garage for good. Tie devs for not letting enjoy the game. I speak of Narwhal energy change. Why it performs so good? 'Cause it's new gun everyone plays it. Nerf RLD nerf aim. Don't buff rotation speed. But why energy cost increase? I feel robbed again. And the nerf to porks and fortunes again? Maybe buff shotguns and fire bricks like that, so they just looks at you and you are insta-dead? Narwhal is hard against bricks as it is. Also, you need to have some skill and aim instead of W pushing and spamming insane DMG non-stop. So okay, I gonna buy shotguns or fire. Gonna play so hard, so you nerf it. GL half, but no coins for devs for Luong time. This team really needs to learn from other devs and stop doing drastic nerfs and buffs. 100% changes, even 35% changes. You're making people angry and generally overdoing the intended effect. Whatever you think you need, half it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, double it. Much better than constant rollbacks that you force yourself into. Bruh, 2 fused hammerfalls are my entire inventory. I don't own any other legendaries, epics, or relics. Seems I need to convert to Yaoguai, Spectre, and Parser. Can you guys at least try to be more subtle? Drastically increase rotation speed of everything to promote people switching from Oppressor to Fin Whale. This is literally even mentioned FFs. Significant number of vehicles that use wheels will replace the Oppressor with the Fin Whale. Give the fin whale a tiny little nerf in some stupid, "Look guys, we're doing something," gesture. No, stop. We see exactly what's going on here. A 2% speed decrease will not be enough, not even with the cabin speed upgrade changes. Heavies will still likely be faster than they have any right to be. And I'm sure the devs damn well knows this. The Omamori, Yeti, and Wheel changes, though, are very welcome. Despite refusing to nerf fin whale properly, this should weaken bricks a little. But where's the Draco nerf? Yongwang, Fortune, and Pork changes are completely unnecessary. Why dumb the game down so much? There's nothing wrong with projectiles of such weapons being influenced by vehicle momentum. I'm not entirely sure a narwhale nerf is needed. They are so popular because they're about the one thing which can reliably counter Omamori. Nerfing both at once seems short-sighted, even more so considering that the rotation changes might increase the popularity of other cannons to some degree. Nidhogg and Jorm changes are short-sighted. There is nothing wrong with a Jorm primarily being used with 2 Nidhoggs, and legendaries cannot be balanced around 6k PS. All this does is makes Nids weak by themselves, and Jorms quite possibly way too strong. Same as the legendary but stronger is not proper relic balance. Jorm's individual shot damage is lower because it heats. Trade-offs like this is how actual balance is kept. This applies to Step Cab as well. It makes sense that it had a downside since it makes rockets drastically easier to use. Step Cab didn't have low efficiency, it had low popularity due to how niche it is. Tsu-Foon changes are dumb, so what if it's very effective with Whaler? Whaler bought the cannons back into the picture, and it was not any issue. They're going to need buffs now. Appreciate the spike buff, but here's a reminder that Toadfish perk is bugged. I realize bug fixes aren't the same as balance changes, but Toads essentially has no perk if the target is 150-200 meters away. If the second bolt is in flight before the first hits, the perk doesn't register. This is especially noticeable if the weapons are upgraded with fire rate. That is just stupid. All the trouble for 1 km H. If you really want to slow down heavies, make different max speed output for engines like you did for radiators for shotguns. Agreed. What a laughable change that is. Well, actually, that 3% on Chronos from Phobos worked out to a 6 MPH buff instead of 5, so depending if you got Singularity or not, you went a bit faster. It literally put me at 120 from 119 on a hot red LMFAO. As an old Porcupine player and lover, I don't like the changes regarding the movement and speed of the projectiles. That takes away my sensitivity when shooting. If I want to let the barrels roll slowly, I drive back a bit. If I want to throw them quickly, I accelerate the vehicle. Why is this being changed? That does not make it any easier. The last change to the Porcupine was already a nerf. Why do you nerf the Porcupine and pretend it's a buff? As someone who has never power porks, I cannot really relate to these changes. Yet in Clan Wars, the Porcupine was so obnoxious, I couldn't handle it. Especially a team of 2 pork spiders with a lot HP and 2 fire dogs for protection. In Ollie the matches played against that constellation, I have won 0. No matter the opposing clan, porks can control the map in narrow spaces, but it is also a heavy counter to the fire dog and brick meta. Therefore, pork deserved that nerf, but it will show whether that affects the meta at all. Dumbasses that fuse their porks weren't able to notice their projectile speed buff as it made little difference, so the devs said we'll take care of that whales, no problem. Lol. Momentum-based projectiles are too hard for the single brain-celled Crossout meta-slaves. Nothing can take more effort than pointing and clicking. We're a mobile game, remember. Really dumbing down the game for your retarded player base, everything must be easier and take less effort. This game is a joke now. The usual panic nerfing of items now that a new battle pass is in full swing, it only took you guys 3 months or so to give a shit. Devs of this game are a joke. At first I was thinking, oh boy, my fat man will now have a 71% increase in rotation speed. I could use a fin whale and it would be about the same now with an even better perk. Now I realize that's exactly what they want, and calling it now next Mini BP will feature the fin whale as the exclusive legendary fusion part to craft no nerf for flamers, you fucking idiots. I had enough of this cancerous Draco meta doing 9999 DMG in less than 8 seconds. That feel when the update is basically just them saying they're bad at balancing legendary hardware and heavy cabin speed bonuses in a BP that has multiple of the former and a new slowest class of the latter after a hardware and cabin upgrade event. Also, not a fan of the second Yongwang change. Vehicle momentum is a huge part of actually using the weapon at range effectively, makes sense intuitively, and rewards familiarity with the weapon. The damage scale by energy I have zero qualms with, and I feel like they didn't learn anything from the incinerator changes insofar as nerfing multiple stats at once can cause a drastic decrease in performance. How about you fix the bug when you lose all-wheel traction when another build touches you? Now, with Yoko having much more power, it will be literally impossible to break away from them if they lack into you. Not exactly a bug, it's a game engine limitation. Don't think they can fix that.